the government? No. He spoke against the ministers of the Supreme Court. I don't agree of what he said, but put someone in jail because what he said, that's Brazil, unfortunately. So he's in jail for 5 years. So I can be in jail for this too. Maybe they can kill me as they tried to do with the ex-president Bolsonaro. And the one that tried to kill him was affiliated into a socialist party. So, I mean, I think that anyone that wants to post something on the internet needs to know that your voice is powerful, and you can subestimate that.
Yeah. Well, election-wise, in 2022, Lula, his unofficial campaign slogan was steak and beer, right? We're going to go back to having barbecues, and we're going to go back to enjoying a cold beer in the weekends. And it was a pretty tight election. I think the margin was around a 1%.
Yeah, 1%.
2% difference.
Yeah.
And how much do you think in a country like Brazil, where we're super volatile, we grow a lot and then we decay a lot, how much do you think these populist policies, right, increasing safety nets for housing, increasing safety nets for, poor people, how much do you think that buys you an election in terms of populism, and how much do you think that we can fight that with values and with true long-lasting policy?
So, unfortunately, people in Brazil, they voted not with their head, but with their stomach, because the candidate said that, you're all gonna get meat again, you're all gonna drink some beer, and people were like, awesome, I'm gonna drink.
This was maybe less than 2 years after he was released from prison.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
That made people forget what happened, and all that happened, all the process that happened in Lava Jato and car wash operation that got him in jail and got a bunch of politicians in jail, and then he promises that, and everybody forgets about it, right?
Yes, because it's a process. There is a promise that they can keep. They go to government, they blame someone, and they put people in poverty, and then they say, you're poor, then you need me again. And then they repeat this. So that's what Lula does. If you have curiosity, put on maybe YouTube Lula's speech in 2002.
2002.
Yeah, 2002, and the same speech that he does in 2022. So in 20 years, he gave the same speech, the same promises, and guess what? He never accomplished that. So how you do the opposite? I think with the truth, and you open the eyes of the people. Unfortunately, we have a lot of poor people in Brazil that still believes in this kind of public administration, because it's very easy. Like people in Brazil, for example, they want a state that is big, that help him. But look, if the state educates your son, if the government gives you home, health, security, like, why do you need God? Like, why do you need family? The state provides everything. So the government now is God. And the government is made not by a mystical figure, but it's made by people. It's people in there that solve better your problems than you. It's crazy. But unfortunately, Brazilians think that if you put someone there, he's gonna solve all my problems. But when you do that, you take your individual responsibilities. So I think that we need to keep on saying truths for Brazilian, and then they will open their eyes and see now all the empresas estatais,
all the state-owned companies.
Yeah, all the state companies now in Brazil, it's in deficit. Deficit.
Yeah, they're taking losses.
Yeah, they are all taking losses. So they're seeing the consequences of their bad votes. So I think that more people also should go to politics, because it's a hard place. Yeah. But as a Christian, I think that the light should bright not in the light, but light should bright in the darkness. So that's why I enter in the politics also.
Yeah. I'll have one last question before we turn to questions from the audience.
Okay.
And again, also in the realm of economic growth in Brazil, right? Ever since the 2000s and even before that, everyone used to say, now Brazil's taken off. Now we're going to be a huge country. Now we're going to be a superpower. And then every time something unexpected happens, some problem comes along and we never become that.
Yeah.
Right? Well, what do you think is the biggest structural problem that Brazil has that it doesn't allow it to grow, and the US doesn't have the problem and makes it grow because of that? What do you think is the biggest single reason?
Yeah, we have a lot of tax. Our government is so big, so big, so big. If you put the carga tributária.
The tax rate.
Tax what?
Tax rate.
Rate, okay. If you put all the tax rate legislation in a
desk, in a table. In a weighing machine.
In a weighing machine, it weighs the same as an elephant. Really, I'm not joking. So it's very heavy. So it's a state, very big, that offers you everything, but they can't give you anything. So I think what we could change in Brazil, especially, we need to cut these taxes. Mm-hmm. But if you do that, you're gonna cut taxes, or you're gonna cut despesas, costs in people who is powerful. So it's very difficult because the president can do this. The Congress also can do this. But if you cut the costs, you will cut in people who are powerful. For example, our Supreme Court in Brazil, it costs more for the taxpayers than the British
royal family.
The British royal family. All the judiciary in Brazil costs more than 150 billion reals. So it's almost...
It's around $30 billion.
$30 billion. Yeah. So it's crazy. So people works like 200, maybe more than 200 days in a year to pay taxes. Only to pay taxes in Brazil. So that's what I would change in Brazil. But of course, it's very difficult.
Of course, definitely. So anyone who has questions can raise their hand. Yeah.
In the U.S., we're having this battle with Black Lives Matter, trans activists, and pro-Palestinianism, and the character assassination is what comes out of their mouth most commonly, and the cutting off of the freedom of speech. If you've ever addressed these issues on social media, what is the best message to help get the truth out about those things?
I think to get the truth about these things, it's to say the truth. There's no other formula. Because all of this, it's only, how can I say, it's only a theater. Because what these people really do to black people, for example, they don't do anything. Like in Brazil especially, we have a terrible education. Public education, it's awful. Private education, okay, it's pretty good, but public schools are terrible. So they make some protests, Black Lives Matter, but the education, they don't care about this. When you talk about LGBT activism, they say that, you're gonna have rights right now, we're gonna fight for you. But in Brazil, for example, LGBT are being robbed. They walk in the streets and their cell phones, they just took away. So what they are doing for LGBT persons? Nothing. They just promise and they do nothing. So they just wear a badge here and they say, I'm an LGBT activist, because it's good for the image. But they are doing nothing. So what we can do to LGBT, to black people, or all the minorities, to give more education, give more health care, everything that you do for the heterosexual. For me, our democracy and our justice and our public activism should be blind. So I'm gonna do this not because you are black or you are Hispanic or you are immigrant. I'm gonna do this because you are a human being and you deserve to have a good health care, a good education, a good security. So when you, for example, in universities of Brazil, some federal universities, you have quota.
You have a set amount of seats reserved for a certain amount of people.
For trans people. So 5% of the
Students, they have to fit that criteria.
Yeah, it's reserved for trans people. So what are trans people are different than me? Nothing. So maybe I'm man. And then if one day I say, no, I'm a woman. So I will go there or not? So it's crazy. They are just, they are fooling everyone because they earn a lot of money with this. A lot of t-shirts of LGBT, they sell a lot. There are a lot of films that they made with LGBT. It's cool to be like LGBT activists, but whatever. You know, what we are getting out of this? Nothing, sir. Nothing.
Any more questions?
Hi there. My question is about institutions. I worry, I'm no expert, but I worry that it is extremely difficult, if not impossible, to really make a country prosper if it doesn't have institutions that are trustworthy, even if they're unfair. You know, that they must be trustworthy. For example, that I can approach, a police officer and he will not rob me, right? That he'll protect me. So from your story right now, it seems to me, and I had heard this before, that Brazil has institutions that are not always trustworthy, right? And it's actually like, in your position, if I were in your position, I would be like, oh my God, how do I, confront this elephant where everything is like against you if you try to work against it, right? How would you approach, in how many years that you would need, the challenge of rebuilding Brazil's institutions to make them, say, good enough for Brazil to develop?
So I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this for my children, because I know it's going to take a long time, maybe 20 or 30 years. Because since the 60s, the socialists in Brazil, they started to do a cultural revolution. And if you want to do the way back, you need to do the same path, but a good path. So it's going to take a while to do this. And the institutions of Brazil, really, they lost their trust, because we do not respect them anymore, because they do a lot of things that you say, come on, it's as you said, you ask help for the cops and he robs you. So you're doing the opposite. So our judiciary, they solta traficantes, tipo.
They let drug dealers loose in the streets.
Yeah, and they put congressmen in jail. So our president was condemned.
He was convicted, yeah.
Yeah, condenado, convicted.
Uh-huh.
Ah, legal. he was convicted.
And put in Bolsonaro?
Yeah, he was in jail, and now he's a president. So our Congress, for example, just to give an example, this past week I was voting to increase the